After 7 years, we finally have another Star Wars movie on the big screen. The Mandalorian and Grogu. Because, you know, that's what we've all been asking for, isn't it? Yeah, the Star Wars franchise is in a strange place right now, isn't it? More accurately, it's in a place of recovery. Kathleen Kennedy is gone, so Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau are trying to put the franchise back on track. And whilst there are people like me who are happy that it's under new management, there are other people, specifically certain hate channels on YouTube, who don't want to lose that revenue, so they keep the hate wagon going. I personally am hopeful that Star Wars is going to get better. That being said, I was not looking forward to The Mandalorian and Grogu, because like most people, I thought there was no point seeing this in theaters when you already get high quality and big budget Mandalorian episodes on streaming. In fact, I would have preferred to just wait and see this when it inevitably releases on Disney+, and it's not helped that I liked the first 2 seasons, but then season 3 came around, and I stopped midway and I still haven't finished it. I was too scared to have to be subjected to Jack Black and Lizzo. That said, I saw the film specifically so I could review it for you guys. So, how was it? Well, the story for The Mandalorian and Grogu is pretty basic. Rada the Hutt is being held captive, and the Mandalorian is dispatched by Sigourney Weaver's character, Colonel Ward, to rescue him as a favor to the Hutt family, as getting in the Hutt's good graces can be very beneficial for them and the New Republic. And the first half of the movie is dedicated to that storyline, and the second half of the film is dedicated to a different storyline that I feel people are going to be mixed on. And the reason why is because as much as the film tries to distinguish itself from its Disney Plus counterpart, it still feels like it could have been split into episodes of a TV series. Now, they do a decent job of making it feel like a film, but there were times where I was like, okay, this is where the episode could have ended, and this is where the next episode could have started. Thankfully, it wasn't distracting. So, what did I like about this film? Well, first off, I had a lot of fun with its opening action scene. Mando is as badass as we remember him to be, and we get to see Mando and Grogu work as a team, and I had a lot of fun seeing that. In fact, I forgot how much Grogu can move now. But yeah, the opening action scene was really solid. The CGI, however, was a mixed bag. As soon as Mando started riding one of those runner pods, the CG for it as they were running down the mountain looked like a video game. And the video game looking CGI happened several times in this film. And again, it just continued to reinforce my initial concerns that this looked more like a streaming series rather than a theatrical movie. It's worth noting though that although there is some bad CGI, there is a lot of good CGI too. And in the places where the CGI looked wonky, which was mainly during the action scenes, I thought they kind of made up for it by putting in a lot of work into the fight choreography. I did actually notice that the action scenes in general just feel a bit more put together and grand than the Disney Plus series, especially when Mando is running and gunning through a hallway fight, or wrecking stuff and smashing people's faces against objects in a bar. And the final action scene was insane. There were starships, killer droids, killer serpent type creatures, Grogu got involved, and Mando was so awesome that he took me back to the Mando that I remember being blown away by back when this series started, and I feel like we kind of lost that along the way. And I swear, one creature in this movie is a play on the Gorgons from Zathura, which was also directed by Jon Favreau. So I enjoyed the action, I thought it was really good. Zeb was in the film and got quite a lot of screen time, which was great for me, as I loved his character in Rebels, but none of these characters get any development. The character who actually gets the most is Rada the Hutt. Now, if you've watched the Clone Wars, you'll know the Hutt family are very selfish and self-serving worms, who only offer their services if it benefits them in return. They are like the Mafia family of the Star Wars world. But Rada is the first one that I'm aware of that is different, and he by far got the most development out of all the characters. And we learn a lot about him, including his family dynamic with the Hutt family, so I found him to be interesting. For the first half of the movie, Mando and Grogu are just going about their business as they usually do, but it was during the second half of the movie that I felt they gave Grogu a lot of growth. Now, this part of the movie got me really concerned at first, because it ran the risk of feeling very kiddie, or kind of like Ewoks running around when it focuses on the puppets, but they rode the line really well, I thought, and I found this section of the film to be very charming. Now, some people will think this is just the movie being cutesy, but I saw it as Baby Yoda being intuitive. We see Baby Yoda actually having to strategize and even lead a little ragtag group of his own, and I don't recall the show giving him this much initiative and this much puppetry. He certainly did a lot more in the movie than just sitting on Mando's shoulder and using the Force occasionally, so I actually found his little journey enjoyable. This section of the film is a much slower part of the film though. Like, if this was an episode of The Mandalorian on Disney Plus, it would feel like the slower episode of the season. So again, I have a feeling people will be split on this. As for the things I didn't like, the story for a start, it barely has one. It's just a movie where Mando and Grogu go on a mission and then get involved in some trouble. It's a very TV show kind of story. So don't go in expecting any big story here. It's a very simple story that is accompanied with lots and lots of cool action. As for the side characters, Sigourney Weaver only has about 3 scenes in the movie. Make of that what you will. Another problem, strangely, is Pedro Pascal. I noticed for a good chunk of the movie that Pedro is not as cool as he was when this show originally debuted, because we've seen him in so much stuff now. And Mando as a character is not as mysterious as he used to be either, and that's only further proven when his helmet is taken off. I just see Pedro Pascal now. That being said, as the film went on, especially during its climax, he did get his badassery back. Now, as I said, the opening hallway fight scene was great, but I spotted a flaw. At one point, there was one stormtrooper in the back who was just watching and didn't shoot Mando even though he had a very clear shot. And literally, he was just waiting there until Mando eventually turned around and shot him. And I thought that was a very clumsy part of the choreography. I also wish the movie was darker in tone. It is a very family-friendly film, and although it has moments of edginess to it, most of it is very accessible. And you can tell the movie is trying to be fun for families, so it doesn't want to push things too far. But I do wish that they pushed it just a little bit more. I mean, The Clone Wars was far darker than anything in this film, and that was rated PG, so some extra grittiness wouldn't have gone amiss. If anything, it would have made it feel like the stakes are higher, because when it does incorporate bits of darkness, it's pretty effective, as short-lived as it is. Also, I never worried for the Mandalorian. It doesn't matter what happens, how big the stakes are, no matter the odds, you know he's gonna be alright. Now that's not to say that he doesn't get his butt kicked at times, he does. But you just know that he's gonna win in the end, so the stakes feel very light in that sense, and I wish they could have found a way to remedy that. The CGI for Rada the Hutt was also pretty bad. It was especially bad for the Hutt twins, who 99% of the time just stay in one place. And if that's what they were gonna do, then I'm surprised they didn't make them practical effects. Anything would have been better than these ugly and stationary CGI effects. And another problem I have is I wish there were more characters. I know that Carl Weathers has passed away, so they can't bring his character back, and Gina Carano is back at Lucasfilm, but maybe they had already finished shooting this, so they weren't able to incorporate her. But the movie needed more characters, because it felt surprisingly limited in that regard. Most of the characters, including Zeb, just come and go. The only consistent ones are Mando, Grogu, and Rada, and I feel like we needed another, even if it was a pilot droid. So overall, I really liked The Mandalorian and Grogu, and I do mean that. To go from a movie I couldn't be bothered to see to becoming a movie that I really enjoyed, that was surprising. And when we got to the big climax, I was actually glad that I was watching this in theaters. The music, sound design, and action really contributed to these scenes being a lot more fun in theaters than watching it on streaming. And then there were also little scenes. There was a funny little sequence when Mando questions an alien at a food stand for information on Rada the Hutt, and this alien was voiced by Martin Scorsese, by the way. No, I'm not gonna use the meme. And Dave Filoni had a little cameo, which made a lot more sense, and I also liked how they have the small mechanic aliens speak their own made-up language, but there is just enough English in there so you know what they're saying. I thought that was a clever little detail. Before I give my score, I'm just gonna say that I never felt that The Mandalorian was a show that really went anywhere. It always felt like fun, episodic adventures to me, and whenever Mando would show up, he would help the locals reclaim a village or their homes from evil rulers or something, and then he would leave and the locals would come in and take it from there. Occasionally we would run into a character from the Clone Wars, which was cool, but other than that, very little in terms of big events would happen. So to me, this movie felt like it was more of that, but on a slightly more grand scale, which is exactly what I thought this film would be going in. And looking at it from that perspective, I had a fun time, and I surprisingly never got bored. And I thought I would, because the movie is around 2 hours and 15 minutes. This movie to me felt like it took The Mandalorian and put him in a big action movie. It almost felt structured like John Wick, where he goes from location to location, asks for the whereabouts of a certain person, fights ensue, and then he takes out the big bad that wronged him in the end. That's what I kind of thought the Punisher special was going to be, and it wasn't. And in regards to this movie, I had fun with this format and for the action film that it was. And if you're okay with that, like I was, then you'll have fun with it. So my score for The Mandalorian and Grogu is a 7 out of 10. People thought the film would be fine, and I thought it was better than fine. It was a fun action movie, but if you're looking for a deeper film, this isn't it. Go somewhere else or wait for another Star Wars movie. But if you go in knowing that this is a fun, self-contained adventure, kind of like what The Mandalorian has always been, you'll have fun. And I had a lot of fun. I really enjoyed the Grogu segment in the second half, and by the time the movie was over, I strangely wanted to see it again. There was just something very calming about this film. It's bizarre, but watch it for yourself and you'll see. There's big, loud action sequences and everything, but there was something very tranquil with Baby Yoda's little section in this film. Another reason I wanted to watch the movie again is because I thought the action really was that good. And I enjoyed watching Mando and Grogu do their thing. If a self-contained, standalone Star Wars adventure sounds like fun to you, then this will give you a good time. I'd say it's worth watching in theaters, but no one will blame you for watching it at home.